Kia ora koutou, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Paul Seapos. I lead the Lagom New Zealand business. Just a little bit about Lagom. We're all about simplifying the business transformation journey for organisations. We're an SAP Platinum partner, and the work that we do typically focuses on leveraging the latest ERP technologies to help businesses run better. I'm super excited to be able to deliver the introduction to today's webinar with our partner WalkMe. So WalkMe are SAP's most recent acquisition, and they're fully focused on ensuring businesses get the most value from their investments in technology through better user adoption. I've been involved in digital transformation programs for over 25 years, and one of the most challenging impediments to sustained value realization of these types of technologies is ongoing user adoption, which, to be honest, it typically fades over time. So not only does WalkMe help drive this ongoing adoption, it offers a completely new approach to engaging with users for the launch of new technologies to help cut through those initial challenges with dealing with change for organisation. So why do organisations change? Why do transformation initiatives exist at all? Well, it's typically out of necessity. Organisations are either forced to change due to regulatory requirement or through a threat to disruption to their business model from external forces, or simply to create efficiency or maintain their competitive position. So given change is inevitable, digitizing the way that this change is managed is the obvious next step. So I'm super excited, as I said, to hand over now to our panel of experts who are going to enlighten us on what this digital adoption platform WalkMe is all about. So Gemma, over to you.
Thanks, Paul. We could just flick to the next slide, please. Yeah, so kia ora koutou, everyone. I'm Gemma Price, and I'm the Practice Director for Organisation Transformation at Lagom. So we've been listening closely to what our customers need when it comes to change management and training. And from some of those discussions, some really clear themes have emerged. So firstly, our customers are asking us for streamlined change processes. So they're looking for simple strategies that reduce resistance and accelerate adoption without adding some of that unnecessary complexity. So for many of our customers, it's about achieving faster results without getting bogged down in those unnecessary steps. They're also asking us for effective and scalable training. So many of you are part of hybrid and global teams, and you'll know that traditional training approaches don't always fit the bill. So our customers are looking for training that's flexible, it's on demand, and it's accessible for everyone. And in particular, we found that they're looking for training material that doesn't become obsolete after a system refresh. Another major ask is a better user experience. So our customers are seeking intuitive systems that empower users. And we're all used to simple and user-friendly technology in our day-to-day. And so inevitably, this is what we've come to expect at work. We're finding that complex tools frustrate teams, they're slowing productivity, and they're hindering transformation. So the goal for us at Lagom is always a seamless experience that's driving that adoption and keeping teams focused on results. And also, any change managers on the call won't be surprised to hear that our customers are increasingly wanting data and metrics, and they need to measure adoption. So they're looking to pinpoint improvements and really demonstrate that ROI. And this is especially true for our customers who are focused on budget, where those clear insights are critical for informed decision making. And finally, our customers are looking for continuous improvement. So we're finding that they need tools and strategies that don't just get them through go live, but they're enabling them to refine and adapt and optimize their systems over time. So this really brings us to a key observation. Well, so many of our customers have digitized their business processes, but yet they still haven't digitized learning and change processes. And now we're finding that it's not just about teaching people how to use a system. It's more about living with change. So change is a constant, and organizations need the tools that help them adapt seamlessly to this reality. And with WalkMe, we found that we can help you adapt to a work environment where change is actually the new normal. So I'll hand over to Natalia now to provide an overview of WalkMe and how it can help achieve some of these customer demands. So over to you, Natalia.
Wonderful, and thank you, Gemma. I'm Natalia Weinberg, and I'm an Alliance Manager here at WalkMe. So before we go into tools and solutions, I want to start with setting a broader context to how we define digital adoption. We have so much technology today, and it's also more powerful than ever before. However, we hear again and again from our customers, from market analysts, that most of the digital transformation projects fail. They fail to deliver on that value promise. They fail to deliver those outcomes that have been committed in the business case. However, the pace of tech investments just keeps increasing. In fact, this year, we're expected to invest 14% more than previous year, which would amount to $5 trillion global spend on technology. So it puts a lot of pressure on businesses to demonstrate or show the return on the investment. And what we see this gap, the gap between the rate with which we invest in technology and the value that we are getting out of this investment. And we refer to this gap as a digital adoption gap. So what's going on there? For a while, we've been trying to understand, are we having here a technology problem? Is it a process problem? And just now we come to realize we've been thinking about problem in the wrong way, because in fact, here we are dealing with a change management problem. Think of this typical employee who has to perform their tasks in this new reality of cloud solutions. They have to work through different workflows. They have to be onboarded, raise purchase order, update their leads, submit sales reports, do performance appraisal, etc., etc. Each of the workflows will span multiple applications, and each application in turn will go through its own change cycle. It will have quarterly releases, it will have process change, regulatory changes. And at the center of this, we have an employee who is completely overwhelmed with the volume and pace of change. And as a result, we see this friction in those workflows. Friction, which means no adoption, incomplete adoption, or painful adoption. Each year we conduct a research and we interview thousands of users. And among others, we ask them a question: why you are not using the applications you've got? And the top response we're getting is, I don't have time. And after this, the second top response we get, I don't know how to find it. Here on this slide, you see another interesting data set, because as part of this research, we're also looking at where employees spend time when they're facing that friction. And you can see in average, per week, an employee will spend more than an hour, just extra time trying to complete the task because they've been slowed down by the technology. Those redundant steps, incomprehensive error messages, confusing navigation. Then they will spend more time talking to a colleague or searching the web, trying to understand, to figure out how to do the tasks. They will raise a ticket to their support desk. Then they will wait for the support desk to get back to them. They will also most likely will figure out some workaround on how to do it. And then they will spend even more time trying to decipher the instructions that have been given to them. So those activities amount to astonishing 6.8 hours per week of time spent compensating for poor technology experience. Just think of it, it's almost day a week And what does it mean for employees? For employees, it means overtime. It means that they are pretty quickly get frustrated with technology and most likely to leave. And for businesses, what a huge impediment to the productivity. So what do we do about it and how we solve for this problem? And with this, I want to hand over to David to talk about solutions now.
Wonderful. Thank you, Natalia. Hi, everyone. So I'm David Pirogov. I'm based out of Melbourne, and I support our ecosystem and Lagom from a solutions and success point of view. So today I'll take you through some of the WalkMe platform, which is the how we deliver on the promise of digital transformation. So just to give you a little bit of a perspective around, digital adoption, there are a lot of definitions for digital adoption based on the context. When we're trying to get people to productivity, for us, our definition of digital adoption is quite simply the technology's ability to engage with an end user. Now, the reason why we say that the technology's ability to seamlessly engage with an end user is important is because we try and get people to do work. And as Natalia mentioned, there is so much different data, there is so much different applications, it's all changing and people become overwhelmed. So if we can't rely on people to go out and find help and find the process, we need to make technology more human-like. And so that's the fundamental thesis that we bring, which is that digital adoption is about having technology become more human-like and then help end users execute on processes that impact revenue, risk, or cost. And so one of the challenges there is sort of, where do we apply some of these principles? And we believe there are three important things that you need. The first one is you need visibility into how people work and where they work. And so that means that, you can't manage what you don't measure. So by having visibility as a control tower for change in your organization, then means that you can provide a people-first approach. A lot of projects that are run are typically system focused. We're doing a HR implementation, or we're doing a travel and expense solution, or we're doing an ERP upgrade. And so with WalkMe, we focus on the person, which is how does a person complete an expense report? How does a person go and update their leave in a HR system? How does a person go through and complete a sales order or a purchasing document in ERP? So once you look at it from a people first lens, what you can see is that you really need some kind of digital GPS, something that can help people get from where they are today to the outcome that they need, which is their job done and their task complete. And then, of course, everything is changing. Processes change, people come and go from the organization. You have developing staff members that then become experienced and tenured. And then, of course, the applications update themselves. And so this is where you need a digital adoption platform to guide people through the change that is going through, happening there. So the WalkMe platform is a set of capabilities that help people work in mobile, web, and desktop environments. And one of the important pieces there is that we look at it from a data point of view first. So a data point of view means that we can prioritize with our limited time and limited budgets where and how we make changes happen and where are the points of friction that we address. And if we address this point of friction, then we'll be able to get a much better outcome from a process. Now, when we think about the actions that we need people to do, we want to be able to drive them to complete activities that matter for the business. Things like getting much more efficient at getting an invoice out, or getting the data quality improved when we're working with a HR scenario, or helping IT manage their infrastructure. And so when you think about the kind of actions that people need to do, sometimes the smallest nudges can result in the biggest impacts, particularly when we look at releasing capacity and getting people to competency quicker. And then, of course, the end user experience matters. And this experience is how we look at being able to provide interactions with people to get them to complete an action. Once they complete the task, we give them an experience to move on to the next one and the next one after that, thereby reducing the amount of time spent looking for what to do and which system to do it in. And of course, we play well with the rest of the technology stack. So WalkMe is essentially an overlay over applications. So we don't have to re-platform data or do integrations or customize systems. It is essentially an additional capability that helps you leverage your existing technology stack and really sweat the asset, really start using the existing capabilities that you have in a more powerful way. And a lot of the time we get asked, where do you fit this into a particular project lifecycle? And in digital adoption, we think of 5 key pit stops that are important to consider. The very first one is around the insights and UAT process. So this is where you're learning how the employees are engaging with a project that's about to go live. And so you can use WalkMe to run your UAT and provide a concierge experience for people to complete the processes that are going to be changing. Once you get some of the data and analytics from that, you'll be able to pivot and use that to really go live in an effective way. And then you'll be able to onboard people to be able to complete those processes in an operational capacity. And then, of course, 10 months, 11 months down the track, people are still going to be joining the business and they're going to need to be onboarded in some way. And so rather than giving them a spreadsheet with 300 rows, we want to be able to get them to onboard with an activity that is just in time. When they're starting to do actions, we want to provide them with just enough for them to know to complete this task. And then over time, their competency will grow. And over time, as the systems change, applications get updated, UIs change, we want to help people navigate through functional releases, particularly if there is a very diverse workforce and different digital literacy. And all of that combined then gives you a rich set of data to be able to understand how are our processes going? Where are the processes delaying? Where are they bottlenecking? And there we can start optimizing and releasing capacity back to the business to be able to do more and do things in a much more valuable way. So in a very high level, this is the idea of WalkMe as a platform. And so what I'll do now is I'll just jump over very quickly and show you just some things to be able to have a look at how we can experience WalkMe. All right, so let me just see here. You can see my screen. Wonderful. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to manually trigger this particular event here. But think about a scenario where we log in the morning, and we're essentially looking at our expenses here. So what you can see on the screen is a pop-up, and this particular pop-up is a WalkMe pop-up, and it's completely configurable, right? You can configure exactly how things look. You can add images, text, and show this to some people or show it to all people, right? And so what this means is that you can start driving engagement that is specific to activities that you want to do. Now, I can go ahead and hit, say, submit expenses. And what that is going to do is that's actually going to take me into SAP Concur, okay? So we can see in the URL up the top, we're looking at SAP Concur, but there's a little bit of a shadow over the screen, and we're highlighting this expense claims button. And there's this click expense reports tooltip. So just to explain what happened, we're in our browser, and WalkMe has then taken us to the browser and taken us to the right application, which is Concur. And now that we're in Concur, WalkMe is like an overlay. It sits in the browser on top of any web-based application. And so this is now starting to tell us, because we understand the business context, which is an employee needs to complete an expense report, we're just going to get them straight into creating this piece. So WalkMe works on almost any web-based application. And so here we're being provided guidance to create this report. So one of the biggest challenges that clients have, particularly with getting people to complete expense reports, is doing them in time for the finance team to be able to close the month end and be able to report to the board what the expenses are like. So with something like this, you can have a pop-up that appears to say, hey, it's almost the cutoff date for the month's expenses. Let's get you in, let's get you completing the expense reports, okay? Now we can keep going here and putting in my name, and we'll put in our monthly expenses. We can then get guided and get given text to say, hey, look, if there's common language that we use, we can make it easy for people to enter in that data. And next up, we need to go in and add an expense. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole process, but just to give you a flavor, people are really clever and they try and reduce the amount of work that they do. And so what we hear quite often from our clients is that people just go in and create miscellaneous expenses, right? And then they leave the finance team up to, you know, reading the receipts and trying to work out, is this actually miscellaneous, or is this a taxi receipt? Is this an Uber receipt? And then essentially it really people spend a lot of time just because the data quality wasn't entered correctly. So I'm going to be a little bit cheeky here, and I'm going to go ahead and pick miscellaneous. So we've picked a miscellaneous expense, but then what happens is WalkMe pops up. So you can see this blue pop-up on the screen. That's WalkMe. And we're saying here that we've identified that the person has picked a miscellaneous expense. Let's help them recode it, because if we can recode this, then the finance team doesn't have to spend time doing it. And so what we see time and time again is at least an FTE or 2 FTEs for some larger organizations in the finance team being released just by something as simple as this. So let's say we caught an Uber, and next up, WalkMe then pops up and says, okay, was this transportation related? Was this, you know, on site with a customer? All of this is configurable. You can add buttons, remove buttons, add options, and so forth. So, you know, here's taxi. Now, what WalkMe is doing, it's automatically clicking on the screen for me, and it's reclassified the expense as a taxi expense. And now it's saying, what vendor did you use? In this case, I used an Uber. Okay, so you can see on the screen, certain things have been filled in for me in order to be able to get through this process more quickly and more effectively. Okay, now there's a whole lot more we can do here, but I will pause at this particular point and just want to give you a couple of other flavors, right? So we may be on our application, and on the right hand side here you can see is a menu, and this particular menu is a WalkMe capability to essentially help with processes, links to information. You may already have some existing knowledge repositories that you want to link to things. Now, when people book business travel, they sometimes want to extend that travel with vacation days or holidays on either side. So what we're doing here is making it easy for people to extend that. But you see, for most organizations, that vacation is done in another system. So if I go ahead and say, okay, I want to add some extra vacation days, WalkMe comes in and says, okay, we're going to help you with that. So this capability is called WalkMe Action Bot. It's an AI capability to get things done. So here I want to request vacation. WalkMe then says, okay, what dates do you want? And let's say we want to do it around Christmas next year. So we'll start on the 23rd, and then we want to go up to, let's say, the 27th. We'll take that week off, and then go ahead and submit that. So now what WalkMe is going to do is it's taken that information, it's captured that information, and now it's taking me to the right application where that information is going to be applied. Now, in this case, that is SuccessFactors. So you can see WalkMe's taken me to SuccessFactors, and it's automatically pre-filled my vacation, my dates, and all the other information that I've submitted. And then it's automatically pre-filled it. So all I have to do is click submit, okay? So think about those business processes where you've got some information in one application, people have to go to another system, they have to fill something in. What we've just done here is we've ensured a bit of process compliance, but more importantly, we've gotten to the person at the point of need, and then we've helped them to get to the outcome that they want, regardless of which system that outcome actually lives in. We took them to the correct system, and we helped them complete that outcome in that system. And then if I just switch over to another sort of scenario here, now we're looking at SAP S/4HANA. So again, a very similar scenario here. What we can do is we can take people through an onboarding process, right? And this is applicable across any web-based application. We can start to say, okay, welcome to your new system. We may have, on Friday, you may have been working in ECC. On Monday, you're now working in S4 Fiori, right? So here is what's changed for you. And so you can start providing a little bit of education and guidance around those particular applications. In addition to that, what we can do is we can start doing a little bit more complex information around, okay, let's say we're doing a post a goods receipt for a purchasing document process. Assume I've got a PO here in my hand, and I'm going to try and match it. And I think the numbers are something like that. This number looks about right. Okay. So we're actually now in S4HANA looking at our purchasing document. And again, this is a very powerful screen. There's a lot of capabilities here. And one of the important things to note is you need to get the right purchasing document completed so that you can go and complete that step. Because after this step, a whole bunch of automations happen. So here, what we're looking at is a WalkMe pop-up that says, is this the right purchase order? Now, I'm going to very quickly say no, just to give you an idea. Maybe there's a mistake. And this is a very common scenario for when there is things don't match and there's some information that we don't know about. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at 3 bullet points of some of the most common scenarios why this purchase order number doesn't match. But more importantly, think about how this can apply to other processes where there's an exception. Things just doesn't seem right. And so rather than the person going, oh, I don't know how to use this, something doesn't seem right, and then they leave, or they try and go and ask their team member, hey, can you do this more difficult thing? What WalkMe does, it says, well, let's find a way forward for you. So let's say the purchase order, doesn't match what's on the documentation. Now what WalkMe says, it's some clear guidance to the user. Don't receive it until you can match the number. Some customers, what they do is they'll actually put in below it, they'll add some text and they'll put in, call this extension or go to this Teams chat or, do something to contact a supervisor to be able to get this resolved. So here we've got an exception process that is a person and process-based solution, not a software solution. And this is where we can route and guide people to complete the correct thing. And then just finally, a lot of the time here is where we can say, okay, we want to get people to understand that they've done a good job. And that good job also means not creating a mistake and not creating a data quality issue. So what we can do here is we can start creating surveys for people to say, okay, how did you find this new capability we've rolled out? And you can get near real-time feedback right from the people who are using it. So far we've looked at so much capability in a really short amount of time. So I just want to sort of give you a bit of a recap. We started on our desktop. We had a pop-up appear that said, look, it's time to get your expenses in. We went to Concur. We just started going and being shown exactly where to go and do our work. We didn't even need to know that Concur was where we did our expenses, right? So it just got us straight into the process. We then went to success factors, put in some Christmas leave, and then after that, we went to S4HANA. We had a little bit of a look around what was on the new UI, and we started going through a process to complete a post to goods receipt. So that's the end user experience where we were driving actions. And so now just very quickly, I just want to give you a bit of a flavor around some of the data and analytics that's available. So we're looking at a pretty busy screen. This is an analytics dashboard of people using the applications that you have activated WalkMe on. So these are all the systems that WalkMe has been turned on for. And so what you can see at a very high level is, applications where people are working, how many people have started using it, how are they going over time, what content, what modules are they interacting with. And then the bottom 2 cards here, this is WalkMe terminology, but essentially what content and goals are, these are your business case objectives. So for example, if you went to and did a big success factors upgrade, or you rolled out a new module like performance and goals, then you want to make sure that line managers are actually going into the performance application and completing their performance reviews. So what you can do is you can start saying, if there's a line manager or a person manager that started a review but hasn't finished, maybe we encourage them and say, hey, we'll just give some content to those people to say, well done on starting, can we help you finish it? For people that haven't started, maybe we give them a little bit more of a nudge to say, you really need to get started, because it's an important piece to get your performance review done for all of your staff members, because that's how we build a great culture in our organization. And so now you can start tailoring the content that you give to various people to get them to act and create a behavior that you want in your organization. So then I'm just going to touch on one other sort of capability here. This is called flow analytics. So what we're looking at is every vertical blue bar is a milestone that we want to look at. So this milestone is, there may be a whole bunch of steps between each milestone, but these are the ones that we're interested in. These milestones could be for a process between systems. So it could be people going into one system, people going into another one, and so on. Now we can see how many people drop off at each of the milestones, which then allows us to ask the question, why are people dropping out? Why are they not continuing with the process? And then finally, you can go and change that view to be essentially a path view, which shows you all the different variations in the process of how people have gone through and how they've completed that piece. So you can get to a really deep understanding of, well, hang on, there may be a specific form, a specific part of an application that's causing this process to become a bottleneck. And then you can go into that level of detail. So what we're looking at here is a representation of a success factors form. And you can see we've got a bit of a color code on these fields. And that color code is just explained up in the top center here. And we're looking at the number of clicks. So how many times did people click on this field? We can toggle it to see how many times did people generate errors. So when they try and hit save, there was an error. Or how much time did people spend on a particular form field? And what this does is it gives you a really rich way to be able to prioritize which interactions are people creating the most errors from, the most amount of time. And you can then go and say, if we tackle these 5 or 6 processes, we'll be able to release capacity to do things better. So there's a lot more here that we can look at. We've just scratched the surface of the WalkMe platform, but hopefully it gives you a really good sort of idea around what WalkMe can do and where we're at. So with that in mind, let's jump back to the slides, and I just want to sort of highlight around what we've seen so far. It's really important to be clear around what we're trying to impact. So if we're trying to drive customer satisfaction, or we're trying to drive adoption, and we want to be able to be really clear around the business case scenarios that we're trying to impact have to be, material, and we need to be able to realize that particular impact. All right, so I might pause there, and I might invite Paul and hand over to you for next steps.
Thank you, David. Look, everybody, I hope you now have a good insight into what WalkMe is all about. Thank you, Gemma, Natalia, and David for helping provide those insights. Andres, was there any questions on the chat?
No, not today. I guess everyone understands what's going on.
Good. Not a problem. As I said, I hope you found the session insightful. We're very keen to invite you to a couple of opportunities to connect with us further on this topic. So as you can see, in Q1 next year, we'll be looking to run a digital adoption workshop around transitioning to S4HANA. Or customers moving to Grow or Rise, and happy to support you in that process and engage with you. And also, if you're looking to have a conversation with your leadership team around this, happy to run a free discoverment session with you, where we can help prepare a tailored presentation for your workshop. We can also build custom demonstrations for a particular process that may help you going forward. So as I said, please reach out if we can help you with any of these opportunities to engage further on this topic. One of the key stats that came out of the the conversation today was one of the ones Natalia shared, was that 70% of digital transformation projects fail. And in terms of delivering on their promise, that is a significant statistic, and I think that is the opportunity we're all really trying to address here in organisations. And again, to David's point in one of his graphs, helping organisations avoid that valley of despair in their journeys to transformation. So look, thank you for joining, team. Thank you for our attendees for taking the time in a busy day. Have a great rest of the day and enjoy your weekend. And as I said, please reach out if you'd like to discuss any of what you've seen today further. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.